Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. You know, the Eisner nominations are out, and a lot of my good Word Balloon guests are getting acknowledged for books that they did last year. So I want to look back at some fantastic conversations that I had with these Eisner Award nominees. Wonderful women and men that are being acknowledged by the industry. You know the Eisners, it's our Oscars, and it's a great event. Really one of the highlights of the San Diego Comic-Con. A wonderful thing to attend if you're going to San Diego, and be there when some of these great industry professionals get the recognition that they absolutely deserve. So I want to look back at my first conversation I ever had with Tom Taylor. Well, I should say on the air back in 2013. Nicholas Scott, fellow Australian, is the person that introduced me to Tom Taylor. And I remember quite well out in front of the Hyatt on a very late night because, of course, their biological clocks are a world away, and 3 in the morning for us is like, you know, I think 10 in the morning for them, or midday or whatever. But many a San Diego I would spend on Saturday or Sunday night hanging out with Nicola and Tom and other Aussies and getting to know them better. And from day one, Tom, just a friendly guy. It's been so wonderful to watch the acceptance of his writing, the approval of his writing, and look where he is today. One of the top DC and Marvel writers out there, and got his work on Nightwing, his work on Titans currently, just wonderful, wonderful stuff. And this is going way back when he really was doing the best Justice League book out there, and that was the Injustice book. It was a book that was a digital first book, and then also was, put in paper as well. And I told them frankly, and this is when, no disrespect to Jeff Johns, but Tom Taylor's Injustice was a hell of a lot more interesting than those Jeff Johns 2013 new DC books that were coming out back then. Yeah, I said it, and I stand by it. And again, no disrespect, Jeff's got a great body of work. This was early in Tom's career. Tom had done some great Star Wars stuff and great other books that we'll talk about as well. He even had his great YA kids book, The Deep, that then became a very successful Australian animation series that you can watch 3 seasons of now on Netflix. All of that part of Tom Taylor's career. Many of the subjects that we cover in this first on-the-air conversation. Tom Taylor, back in 2013, on today's Word Balloon. It's been called one of the top 3 real Comic-Cons in the USA. August 16th through the 18th. Discover Terrificon as it returns to the Mohegan Sun Expo Center in Uncasville, Connecticut. Terrificon showrunner Mitch Halleck has assembled his biggest and best comic creator guest list to date. Jim Lee, Scotty Young, Mark Waid, Adam Hughes, Jason Aaron, Charles Soule, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, Brian Azzarello, alongside legends like Chris Claremont, Jerry Ordway, Howard Chaykin, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Louise and Walter Simonson, Klaus Janson, Lee Weeks, and dozens more. Terrificon also brings you the actors who have brought your favorite superheroes to life on the big and small screens. Michael Rooker, Charlie Cox, Star Trek actors Walter Koenig, Nana Visitor, Armin Shimmerman, Ethan Peck, Celia Rose Gooding, and many more. That's Terrificon, August 16th through the 18th. For information on tickets and guests, visit Terrificon.com. Word Balloon is brought to you by AlexRossArt.com. Alex is a good friend of the show, and I am honored that he aligns himself with Word Balloon, and good Lord, we all love his iconic art, whether it's for DC, Marvel, things like Monty Python, The Monkees, David Bowie, so many other great licensed things, the Beatles. If you go to AlexRossArt.com, you will find great value for your dollar, whether you can spring for something like original cover art or pages to lithos and posters, every price point you can imagine, you will find something and a beautiful image from AlexRossArt.com. Word Balloon is also presented by my listeners, the League of Word Balloon listeners. The help that I get via contributions from Patreon, patreon.com/wordballoon. You hear the entertainment that I provide from Word Balloon every day, that I do a new episode. I am very fortunate to have the great creators of comics and pop culture willing to come on and give you great entertainment. I hope you will consider making an actual cash contribution via Patreon. even $1 a month. But really, if Word Balloon is worth the price of a comic book a month to you, it would be greatly appreciated if you slide that extra money you would put on an issue of a comic book to Word Balloon via Patreon. Patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you, League of Word Balloon listeners.
Time to talk to Tom Taylor. It was great to talk to him via Skype to learn about his all-ages comic, The Deep, and also what he's doing for DC Comics on Injustice. Here's Tom Taylor on Word Balloon.
First of all, congratulations on everything, and I'm psyched about the things that we're going to talk about today. But and based on what people will hear, if they are only aware of you maybe through Dark Horse and DC. I can't wait to talk about the all ages stuff as well. So you're a very well-rounded writer, it seems, and are pretty capable in various adult and kid level age groups.
Yeah, well, I like to cater to everybody, make everyone happy.
Excellent. Let's start with Injustice.
Sure.
I got to tell you, man, this is, for being a computer tie-in comic, I can't think of another like toy or game tie-in comic that has been this entertaining, and it's fantastic given what seems to be the lack of parameters as far as where you can go in this story. But it's great so far, man.
Thank you. Yeah, look, it's. I hear a lot of people say, it's a game tie-in. Why is it this good? And I'm kind of blown away by that because, it's a game tie-in, sure, but it's the first time I've ever gotten to write Superman. It's the first time I'm writing Wonder Woman and Green Arrow and Harley Quinn, and these are characters that I've loved for as long as I can remember, except for Harley because she came a bit later in life. But I've always wanted to write them, so why wouldn't I put my absolute heart and soul into it? And that's what I'm trying to do with this series. I'm trying to put as much as I can into it and just grab it and shake things up a bit. And as you were saying, the freedom of it is incredible. It's probably the most freedom outside any of my creator-owned books that I've ever had on a book.
Now, the only thing I've heard about the Injustice game is what I heard Kevin Smith talk about on a podcast commercial. It sounds like it's Mortal Kombat or even Arkham City in terms of your typical kind of one against the other. But it sounds like also you can play heroes. What do you know about the game?
Well, the game it is basically, it's a fighting game, and
sure,
I love fighting games.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's taken for years. I really like Mortal Kombat. These
sure.
I grew up with Street Fighter, and it is, but there's a huge other level to it. I can't speak too candidly about it because there's a lot that people don't know yet, but there's a huge story component to it, and it's one of those things like when I got the gig, for all my why wouldn't I write a good story about a game, I got the script and went and just rolled my eyes and sort of grimaced and went to read through what I assumed was going to be some poor excuses to rip another man's spine out. But it was good. I was very pleasantly surprised. Like, the script is probably the most ambitious thing I've ever seen from a fighting game. It's a big script. There's a big story to this. And I think people are going to be very pleasantly surprised.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So I'm sorry if you've got more, please.
Oh, no, I was just going to should say that the NetherRealm guys have done an incredible job on this.
NetherRealm. Okay, that's the company.
Yeah.
Very cool. What were the parameters story-wise that you were given to make this?
There's obviously a few things that have to happen for the game. There's some the big moments that have already happened in our comic. A couple of those had to occur. I don't know how much. Can I give stuff away? People, there will be spoilers. So obviously, a huge thing has happened in Chapter 3 with with the death of Lois.
Absolutely, man.
And this was something that this had to happen. I was surprised because it came down to I was able to decide how that happened, and for me, I wanted to do it as non-violently as I possibly could. I didn't want to see Superman hit her. I didn't want, I had to find a way for him to affect the death of Lois and their unborn child. It's nasty stuff.
We're going to balance it, though, when we talk about the Deep. It's all good.
That's right. That's true. And the thing is, as you say, I like doing all ages stuff, and I love Superman, I love Lois, and I got this gig, and I found out this is what I had to do, and I spoke to my wife and went, I'm writing Superman, but he does this, and I have to find a way to do this, and it killed me. Like, writing those 10 pages especially, just probably the hardest 10 pages I've ever written in my life of anything. I've written some dark stuff, especially in theater and stuff, but this was just, it was very hard. It was emotionally... it was just so.
Now,
Right.
is it so is the game the first issue of Injustice starts 5 years later?
5 years. Yep. The first page 5 years later. Yeah, and then we go back 5 years. Yep.
Okay, yeah, and what seems to be the DC universe in a totalitarian situation. Superman is in charge, and then we flash back 5 years to your story to find out how we got there.
That's right. So ours is very much the prequel to the game.
I see. Okay, so yeah, the game is then I guess the game is in a future world where this is all going on. Okay, awesome, man. Because we've seen Kingdom Come, we've seen various. DC futures and stuff. And the great thing is, and I guess now, how many issues are you going on this?
I'm not sure we're allowed to say. Actually, I haven't.
Okay,
we're definitely going a lot longer than people think. I'll say that. There are a number of people who thought we were stopping after 2 months. There are a number of people who thought we'd be stopping. But at the time the game releases in April, we're going to keep on going.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic, man. I got to hand it to Hank and the DC Digital people, because really all the DC Digital products are really good books. There's a reason I understand why they're going to paper. But I think it's just fantastic, and I'm glad to hear that the story is going to continue, because the 5th issue, I wouldn't say confused me, but it's just like, oh, this was an interesting little interlude. That it seemed to deviate from the main story. Although, it was a Green Arrow, Harley kind of
one. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And, but that's the thing. I mean, I think, you're really setting up this world that eventually the people are going to see in the game and stuff. But because you can really cut loose and everything, these are great scenarios. And also with the New 52, it's nice to see a good story in previous continuity. At least it feels like previous continuity. And go ahead.
Yeah, I'd say that's kind of how it is. I mean, I wouldn't call it previous continuity, but what it is I'm telling stories, and I've been given the freedom to tell stories of the characters I know and love. Like the Harley Quinn and Green Arrow you read was, that's the Green Arrow I read in black and white Australian reprint comics, and the 1970s stuff with, hard traveling heroes and stuff. Like this is the Ollie that I love. So I was writing him. I was writing Harley Quinn. I was just writing Batman the Animated Series Harley Quinn,
Sure.
And yes, they have new costumes, and yes, they look a bit different, but the voice in my head was, were those characters. And it's the same with Superman. It's the same with Batman. And I'm writing the characters I know. I'm not trying to write an updated version or whatever. I'm just writing the guys I love.
Well, that's what fascinates me really about DC right now. And they seem to be very comfortable writing their New 52 continuity, but also whether it's reprints or even, game tie-ins and stuff, they seem to revert back to the basics. I'm glad in the case of Green Arrow. I'm really happy that Lemire is taking over the New 52 series.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
But I was just talking to Dan Jurgens about this as well last week. That was it Dan? I can't even remember now who the hell I was talking to. But I was talking about Ollie and just how I think it was Dan, because Dan had been writing the new Green Arrow as well. And that's the thing, man. I just think Ollie is a sum of his relationships, and even the way you portray him, and we see the Arrow Cave, we see all the classic Green Arrow tropes, and also references to the mistakes he's made, and I'm sure young Ollie can make the same kind of mistakes. But I really think Green Arrow is one of these characters that has suffered in the New 52 because he's cut loose from all of the friendships and the opposites in the Justice League that made him who he was, and it was good to see him back. I miss Ollie.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I mean, Ollie, I've always had the sweetest spot for him. I mean, he's the most liberal character and the most angry liberal character in the DC universe, and I can relate to that in a lot of ways. I like his social justice views. So it was a good time getting to write him, I have to say. But you're right, you know, he's defined by his relationships, by Black Canary and, you know, Judd Winnick's recent run, you know, the family that he had around.
Sure.
You know, and Phil Hester just did an incredible job on that series. You know, they were the people that defined him. They're who he's fighting for, as well as his city. He's fighting for his family, and you know, I do miss that, and I'm very curious to see what Lemire does with that. I think I'm sure he probably feels the same way.
Oh no! Well, you know, and I talked to him before the series started, and I know he's a big fan of the character as well. And you know, every time he's touched a superhero, whether it's been the Atom or Superboy or the current stuff he's doing in the New 52, I'm really loving what he's doing. So I think he'll find a way.
Yeah, no, I think he's a great writer. Every comic.
I hear you, man. Now, the Flash, is that Wally?
Oh, that's Barry.
It is Barry. Okay,
I'm pretty sure it's Barry.
Okay.
Barry. Yeah.
Okay, because we had the one long shot of him before he gets into the action out of costume, and I wasn't sure from the coloring of his hair if it was Wally or Barry.
Yep. I think that may have confused a few people. We did the same thing with Hal and Kyle. That's as far as I know, it's Hal. I've been writing it as Hal, but with the color of his hair was dark, so people were like, "What's Kyle doing in there?" Yeah.
That's cool. Well, tell me about. Is it who? I'm trying to read his name now. Your artist. There it is. Bruno Redondo.
On the Harley Quinn one.
I guess so. And then, forgive me. And who is your other artist?
Jeremy Ripak is sort of the main artist, and we've got Mike S. Miller. I mean, basically, we've got a 10-page comic coming out every single week. So,
sure,
not even superhuman artists can do that. So we're sort of breaking things. As you said, we're doing a lot of one-shots where we've got different artists. We've got my mate Dave Yarden, who people may know from a lot of his Marvel covers, who's coming up and he's doing a one-shot Wonder Woman story in a couple of weeks for us.
Cool.
Bruno Redondo, who did Darth Maul Death Sentence with me.
Excellent.
He did the Harley and Green Arrow story, which he was perfect for because he's got that almost Kevin Maguire sort of expressions that just make me giggle and can also show so much emotion. And then we got Mike S. Miller and Jeremy, they're all pretty much killing it. We're liking them.
Wow, fantastic, man. So, is 6 out this week?
6 was out last week.
I missed 6. Okay, I got to get 6.
You really
shame on me.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So, okay, all right, good to know.
Yeah, just go away and read it now, and I'll just keep talking. And then, 6 is out, so 7's out tonight.
Wow, tomorrow. Yeah, okay,
tonight,
great.
It's whatever it is for you. It's tonight for me.
Do comics come out Tuesday nights in Australia?
Yeah, they sort of come out very sort of in the middle of between Tuesday and Wednesday here. So
you're saying obviously digitally, of course, from DC and everything. Okay, what about paper comics? When do they come out?
They do come out Wednesday, so we technically get them in the future. We get
Hilarious.
Slightly before you, and I'm pretty sure I've always found France gets them even earlier.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, whenever there were always people talking about my Star Wars books in France on Mondays, and I was just like, what's going on? I haven't even read this yet. What happens? Yeah.
Very cool. And you were saying, now, back in the day, you used to get black and white reprints in Australia of American comics?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And that, we could get them from newsagents, big chunky things. Normally I got them from secondhand stores with my dad from record stores. And yeah, these were the things I grew up reading, and I still love them.
The ones from the record stores, were they also black and white, or were they?
Usually, yeah. I mean, we had color as well, but they were always, these big sort of chunky black and white reprints. Which
are they like Shogun Jump? Is it like a big catalog, like a big,
Not a huge thing, but it always seemed as sort of an album size rather than a floppy size now.
Okay, so like 80 pages or so, maybe?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably 80, 92 pages. They were, always had sort of 3 stories in them. The ones I remember.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool, man. No, it's always interesting. And James Robinson was telling me about not only British comic shopping, but also South African comic shopping. So I always find it interesting. Now, this is a good opportunity to transition to the deep. Gestalt, is Gestalt an Australian publisher?
They are, yeah, based in Perth. Based in Perth and Tokyo, actually. They're art directors in Tokyo, and they sort of share the company. So they're split across those two.
Gotcha. Very cool. And yeah, man. So you're doing the deep for them, and your volume 2 is done. How soon is volume 3 coming out?
Oh, volume 3 is probably a way away. We've been slightly distracted on the deep with something else, which has been huge and exciting. Which you probably know about, but the deep. For those who don't know the deep, should I give them a quick rundown?
Yeah, let's talk. Yeah, firstly, by all means, give them the background on the deep, the story of the deep.
Sure. The deep tells the tale of a multi-ethnic family of underwater explorers and their adventures on the submarine they live on. It is my joy. It is my love. It is, that feeling, John, when you first step onto a Pegasus and you're taking off. You're sort of taking off and you're soaring through the air, and you hit that first cloud layer. And that first tiny little wisp of cloud just lightly brushes your cheek. Kind of reading the deep and writing the deep is kind of like that. It's like that first cloud kiss while riding a Pegasus. That's
outstanding, man. I'm Greek, so I do understand what it is to ride a Pegasus.
Of course. So you completely get it. You've probably been doing that, since the start.
Since the parents let me, absolutely.
For as long as I've been reading DC Comics, you've been riding Pegasuses and getting cloud kisses. Is it Pegasi? I don't know.
That's Pegasi. It could be. Very good.
Anyway, The Deep is just this incredibly happy book that I've been very lucky to write, and Gestalt Publishing and Wolfgang over there have let me write, and we've had the most amazing artists in James Brower, and it's a true all-ages comic. I
agree.
Yeah, I wanted to write a book that was for everyone rather than, I was reading these kids' comics to my kids that I hated. And they weren't entertaining, and they were stupid and insulting, and they weren't written for kids. They had no adventure. They had nothing. They were just safe and boring. And I wanted something that didn't have violence but still had a lot of peril, and was something that a dad or a mum could sit down and read with their kids and both enjoy, like a good Pixar movie. I guess.
Absolutely, man. And that's the vibe that I think people will get when they read The Deep, obviously. And it has that Incredibles Fantastic Four feel in a very positive way. And like you said, it is absolutely all ages adventure. Reading the 2 volumes, I thought it was terrific. I'm a big sucker for undersea adventure. And I think I'm a bit older than you, but I grew up on those Jacques Cousteau specials from the 70s, and where the ocean really was as mysterious as outer space was.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, there's limits to what we can do down there. We can't, we can get to the moon easier than we can get to the bottom of the sea.
True.
There are still these things lurking in there that we've never seen. We've seen, unfortunately, our first giant squid, but we've still never seen a colossal squid, which is bigger in its natural habitat. We are living next to these myths, and we've never seen them, so we don't know what else is down there. And it's this great little final frontier right here at home.
That's excellent, man. So this really was, from the start, something that you came up with, and I'm like, I got to do this.
Yeah, no, I had a little picture of a boy in a submarine and some words written next to it, probably when I first got my first Star Wars gig, just stuck to the desk, and it's evolved from that. And now it's recently just been optioned for a TV series, which is just incredible.
Fantastic. So would that be, is it a live action series or a animated series?
It's CG. So
cool. Oh, that's perfect though, because and then they can really kind of adopt the look of the characters and everything too.
Yeah, no, I've seen. I'm not sure what I can and can't say, but it's getting very exciting. I've been working on the development of it along with Technicolor and James and a few other people for about 6 months, and it's such an incredible feeling to have something that existed in your mind 5 years ago suddenly get up and walk around and talk.
Outstanding. That's great, man.
Yeah, it's like, I won't say that. Continue.
Well, I hope it makes it to American and British television as
Look,
well.
I hope it gets turned into a series. We're just at the development stage at the moment, but it's all
I see.
very positive.
Cool, man. That's fantastic. No, it's a lot of fun. Now it's available, I know, through Gestalt's website.
Yeah.
How else? Yeah.
The first volume's just sold out, and it's being reissued through Diamond in April.
Terrific.
And the second volume's out in April as well. So they're both coming out together. So tell your comic stores, tell them, get the deep. It's like riding a Pegasus and that first cloud kiss. Tell them that, and they'll stare at you oddly. Yeah.
And it is coming out through Gestalt. Gestalt has American outlets.
Yeah, it's coming out.
Okay, good.
Gestalt. And yeah, it will be out through Diamond in April. Get ordering, please. Please.
That's excellent.
You'll love it.
No, yeah, very cool. Well, with my buddies Art and Franco and stuff, I've been inundated with all ages comics lately. So it's good to talk about another good one. Because you're right, I feel the same way. A lot of them, it is like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
But you guys and My Little Pony, I think what Katie Cook is doing right now is hilarious.
Yeah. Now my son's desperate for me to buy him the My Little Pony books. And
you'll laugh, man.
Gonna have
there's
to
good,
yes.
There's the cool thing is Katie's putting some great jokes in there that adults will appreciate.
Yeah. Look, the series is good. I've watched it. I enjoy it. I think they found a really good blend there.
That's really cool. Now, you've got other stuff that comes from Gestalt as well. And I keep doing Gestalt as opposed to Gestalt. So yeah, forgive me for.
No, I think you're right. I think it's Gestalt. It's unless you say it angrily with a terrible German accent, you're saying it wrong. Yeah.
So what? Tell me about some of the other Gestalt stuff that you got.
Look, I've got my first ever book was a comic called The Example, which is basically just an 11-page comic about two people on a train station and an unattended briefcase.
I read that. Very interesting, man. Yeah.
Good. Did you like it?
I did. No, I absolutely did. And now, is it also part of an anthology? Is that like I got the individual story, and I'm assuming it's available as an individual story.
Yeah, no, it was just printed like that. It was printed as a sort of I think it came to about 20 pages in the end with a bit of back matter, and we printed it as a single issue, and it's sold out, and it's been reprinted. And the movie, actually, the short film of it premieres Thursday in San Jose at Cinequest.
Wow,
it's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, man. So is it going to make the festival, run? Is it going to run? You should put it in San Diego, man.
I should. I haven't even thought.
At Comic-Con. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's just starting. So the premiere is this Thursday, and it's that's been great because it was actually originally a play I wrote, and it was sort of the play that made my career. It won a pile of awards and looked really impressive, and went all over the world and made me about $50. But from then it got turned into a comic, and from there into a film, and it's just kept going. And it's about two people on a train platform with an unattended briefcase. It's simple, but people seem to like it.
It's great. Is it? It's a short film, obviously.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
So like 20 minutes. Whatever.
It's probably comes to 10 or 11. It's
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's almost identical to the words you would have read in the comic. I had to change it up a bit. The director just wanted a few things that were a bit more natural sounding and less like a play, but it's essentially what you would have read in the comic, but brilliantly done.
That's excellent, man.
Yeah.
So you started as a playwright and then fell into comics, or did you always want to pursue comics?
I started as a playwright thinking that there was absolutely no way that I could get into comics. Comics are my first love, without a doubt. As far as I'm concerned, they're the single greatest storytelling medium in the world. I was sort of on the cusp of doing film and television. I'd been approached to do a few things, and I got probably the first 2 pages of The Example from Colin Wilson, who's the illustrator. I got together with him. I'll take it back a step. I went on the internet, which was a terrible decision, and I let people know that I was a multi-award-winning playwright looking for an illustrator to help me turn some of these plays into comics. And I got destroyed. I got torn apart. because I blundered in stupidly with my eyes wide open, not really understanding this thing called the internet. And a guy called Colin Wilson, who was one of the original illustrators on Rogue Trooper, Judge Dredd.
Yes.
He's just had a movie come out with Sylvester Stallone and Christian Slater and Jason Momoa called Bullet to the Head, based on his movie. This guy's a giant, and he got on this internet forum and said, "Leave this guy alone. Do you want to get together and have a coffee?" And we did. And it turns out he lives 10 minutes from my house. And we got together and I gave him this thing, and he was working on Star Wars at the time, and he said, "Oh, look, there's no way I can take anything on like this. I'm sorry, I'd love to, but, nice to meet you." And then a page appeared. He's like, "Look, I don't have time for this, but I just wanted to show you, I really like the script, but here's what it could look like." And I just, I wept. It was beautiful. I had a comic page. And then another page appeared about a week later. He said, "Look, I don't have time to do this, but here's just another page." And by about page 10 of 11, I went, "I'm pretty sure he's going to finish this," despite his excuses. And sure enough, he did. And I remember at about 1 a.m., I got probably the 6th page through, and I walked into my wife's, into our room, and I woke my wife, and I said, "Look, I'm really sorry. I've just got this through, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to be a comic book writer." And she went, "Okay." And that was the story of how I became a comic book writer.
The example is great because there's a lot of 9 panel grid pages.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of story despite it only being 11 pages, physical pages. And that's fantastic because really I do love the art. And you hear Colin Wilson, you're like, all right, I probably heard of it somewhere. As soon as you started rattling off his credits, I'm like, oh, that guy. I know who you're talking about. No, it's great, man. And that's fantastic. And what a wonderful way to start.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good helping hand to kind of get things going.
Without a doubt. I mean, there are people who just revere this guy. I've gone to Comic-Con a couple of times with him, and people walk up to him and go, "Oh my God, are you Colin Wilson?" In fact, James Robinson, last time I was there, went, "You're Colin Wilson." He went, "Yeah." He's like, "Can I hold you?" And he just hugged him for an awkward amount of time. But look, you get these guys who've grown up absolutely loving him. I mean, he worked under Moebius. He's revered, but my kids just know him as the guy who comes around and makes them pizza.
Well, and I'll tell you, Rogue Trooper is one of my favorites, and I've read so many and various artists that have done it. I mean, one of my first, beyond the obvious with Dave Gibbons, I'm like, dude, Rogue Trooper, tell me about it. And he's like, yeah, that was fun.
I know. Well, he came on at I don't know, issue 5 or something of Rogue Trooper. So it was him and Dave Gibbons for a while, and they're really good mates. Dave's coming to Melbourne in a couple of months, and we're all getting together. But his first issue, you look at it, you just go, how are you that good back then? And it was basically the first thing he'd ever done in professional. I mean, he was mind-blowing.
Wow, man.
Squat in England, and someone found him and took him to 2000 AD.
That's crazy. You're going to have to make a love connection for me, and maybe
I shall. He's a good guy to chat to.
It would be my pleasure. That's really cool, man. So, then from the example, how long before you started getting American gigs? And did you do British gigs in the meantime? I mean, what's the path?
I went straight from the example to my own ongoing Star Wars comic.
Did you really?
Yep, almost immediately.
That's fantastic.
It was bizarre. Colin was already on Star Wars. He suggested I give the editor, Randy Stradley, an email. I sent him that email. I heard nothing. I got no response. And then I sent the exact same email 3 months later and got a response. And all of a sudden, I was working on my own series, and it was incredible. And then that series couldn't happen. And then all of a sudden, I was working on my own series, another series, and I suggested we get Colin to do the art. And suddenly, Colin Wilson and I had our own Star Wars series, which was Star Wars Invasion, which ran in the end, I think, it did about 3 graphic novels, 17 issues, and it was great. It was baptism of fire, but it was good. And it was very hard. I mean, it doesn't happen,
What was the book before Boba Fett is dead that you did for Star Wars? Would it have been more of Invasion, or?
Yeah, I did Star Wars Invasion. I did Star Wars Blood Ties, which was the first before Boba Fett is dead.
Yes, Blood Ties is, I think, the first one of your Star Wars stuff that I was aware of. Go on.
Yeah, well, that did very, very well. That won the Stanley Excelsior Award last year, which is this massive award as voted by 70-something schools across the UK. So all the kids voted for that above a lot of other sort of more worthy books, which I love. I just thought it was great that all these kids got together, these teenagers, and went, you know what? We like this book. You know why we like this book? Because we like this book. Not because you're coloring this. I mean, we appreciate that that's the graphic novel adaptation of Wuthering Heights, but we like this one that has these guys and blasters and rancors. Yeah. So that was a nice little award to win. And yeah, that book did very well.
But Invasion, what was the crux of Invasion? What period of time, and what was the basic story?
The basic story was 25 years after A New Hope. A bunch of aliens come from another galaxy to kick the ass of a galaxy far, far away. I don't think that was the official blurb, but that was it in a nutshell.
Awesome, man. Very cool. You know, I love when John Ostrander gets to write his future Star Wars stories, and him and Jan Duursma is such a wonderful team as well. And man, I'll tell you, I was rereading Boba Fett is Dead to talk about for our conversation now, and I forget the name of your artist, but beautifully painted.
Chris Scuff. Yeah,
excellent, man.
Yeah, he's a machine too. That guy can actually pump out 20. I shouldn't tell you this because people will want him. But hey, we'll let people know. He can pump out 22 pages in about 6 days.
Wow.
He's an incredible, but he's a commercial illustrator, and he's somewhat of a freak, I'm gathering. If you look at his YouTube videos, he does these live videos where he'll draw a dragon, and it just comes to life all of a sudden, and he does it with this speed and surety that's just mind blowing. And he's used to pumping out these panels for commercials and stuff at this great rate of knots, and suddenly he's been able to translate that to comics.
Outstanding, man.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool, and that's the thing. Dark Horse has been such a great keeper of Star Wars stories for over 20 years now.
Yes,
and yeah, I mean, I everyone obviously doesn't know what the future, means, and who's I don't know. I mean, you don't know either, but obviously no one knows what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting seeing how the transition is when Marvel is doing Star Wars stuff. But I really appreciate, I think, the level of experimentation that Lucasfilms has allowed Dark Horse to go into, and really interesting directions, and building very interesting characters, and just adding to the mythos.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a lot of people. A lot of people assume that there's quite tight confines at Lucasfilm telling us what we can and can't do, and generally there are things that they tell us we can't do, but it's because no, you can't have Boba Fett and Luke Skywalker have a picnic on Alderaan because it blew up a month ago. It's not. It's continuity stuff. It's not about the stories you're telling. They're actually quite good about all of that. I mean, I was the one who suggested Boba Fett is dead. I didn't think they'd go for it, but they let me. And the one that was the most surprising is I did a Star Wars adventure story, a little graphic novella for kids, which was Luke Skywalker and Yoda on Dagobah. It was an untold story set there, and it's canon. And that's
fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, for any Star Wars fan, that's a huge thing, and I wasn't expecting them to say yes to it. And I had to rewrite that one about 8 times, but that's because it was such hallowed ground, and I was fine with that. And so there's certainly not. There's a lot more freedom there than people would expect.
I don't know how much weight you could put into what Lucas said when the announcement was first made, and there's that video, and we all go over it and try and with a fine-tooth comb and make sure we understand what as much as he's saying. But it seemed to suggest that beyond the 6 films, he rattles off, well, there's novels, there's comic books, there's a whole, treasure trove of stories that could be adapted into other mediums. And again, I'm paraphrasing, but immediately I'm like, oh man, can you think of all the Dark Horse stories that would make really cool movies and stuff? And I mean, it's like, oh, that. Everyone just salivates at the thought. Obviously,
I think every single So, of course, Star Wars creator has had many people emailing them and tweeting them saying, hey, they really should take this story and turn it into a TV show or a movie, and you should write it. And you're like, yeah, sure, we'll do that.
I know you're. Go on. I'm sorry.
But I mean, it's exciting. It's an enormous universe, and now, I think a lot of people were worried at Disney acquiring it. For me, I look at what they've done for Marvel, and
sure,
I'm not worried at all. I think it could be incredible. It could be a really great marriage.
Do you have anything coming up Star Wise or no? Because
yeah, not really at the moment. I've got Darth Maul Death Sentence, which is a series I finished late last year. That's being collected in May, which is it's a really fun series. It's angry and vengeful and funny, which is a good mix. Which is by Bruno Redondo, who did the Harley Quinn Green Arrow story.
Excellent.
Justice. That's a great book. I had such a good time on that. So that's coming out, I think, May, and then I'm not sure what's next for Star Wars. We'll have to see. I'm stupidly busy on this TV series and on Injustice, obviously.
Understood. No, that's great, man. Man, thrilling.
Yeah.
You got all this stuff going. I think that's fantastic, man. Now you said a couple months from now there's going to be a big Australian convention, and is it like, do they do two at the same, almost around the same time so that they can import guests and have them come for like a week or so or a couple of weeks at a time?
Yeah, they do. They generally do one weekend and one in another state the next weekend. So we get a lot of guests out. We've got, I think, Joe Driscoll, we've got Terry Dodson, Rachel Dodson, Gail Simone's coming out, Dave Gibbons. These are just the comic book people. Then we've got David Hasselhoff and all these other guys. The Hoff. And yeah, they come, they stay for a week, and we all stay in the same hotel, and we go on tours, and we do fun things, and yeah, we all get treated the same as every comic book creator who comes out here, including myself. All gets treated the same as sort of the A grade face actors, I guess, which is so they create a really good vibe.
Those are the best conventions, and I've experienced that down at the FX show in Orlando, and thought that was really neat that the comic book guys and the other celebrities are right next to each other and same accommodations and treatment. That's really cool. I remember Dan Slott and Gail when they went a year or so ago. Dan told me a lot about the experience of doing those shows. What about when you come here? I know you come to San Diego. Is San Diego about all you can swing? I mean, again, you're on the other side of the world, so I can appreciate just I mean, hell, man, I would love to come to Australia sometime.
Well, you should.
I think. Oh, it'd be my pleasure. I think you'd have to really put me in a coma though for the plane ride. I got to be honest. I got squirrely going to London and Amsterdam 10 years ago, just 7 hours on a plane. So I don't know, man.
It's if you fly straight here, it's about 15. You could do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
It's a painful plane ride.
Are you coming this year? Are you gonna be in San Diego?
Quite possibly. I'd like to. I couldn't actually get my my member thing badge, Pro Pass thing. The internet, it just didn't work for me, the site at the time. So I'll probably have to have a chat to one of the publishers and see if they can get me one.
Hey man, it just happened to me with my press badge. Yikes!
It's just ridiculous. You do everything right, then nope. Sorry, here you go. What?
Yeah,
I'm applying for 2014. What? No, I'm here for this. No, internet.
Jesus, but it's really cool. I mean, getting to know Nicola the last couple of years and meeting you the last couple of years as well. It's fantastic, and I'm really glad when you guys do come to San Diego because it's literally the only time I'll get to see you guys.
Exactly.
So, in fact, I don't think I didn't. And actually, I think we did miss each other last year. I don't think I did get a chance to see you last year.
I don't know why. We may have seen each other fleetingly in a hotel at some stage, but no, it just didn't happen this year.
It's all right, man.
Yes.
Exactly. No, I certainly hope so. But no, man, this is great. Now, are you? I'm sure, as you say, TV's keeping you busy, and Justice is keeping you busy.
Yep.
Without giving anything away, are there possibly other DC things coming of this, given how well it?
Yeah, look, I think there's a possibility that there's other stuff happening. I mean, Injustice is my first thing though. I don't want to do anything that could jeopardize that potentially. Like I want to write just the best story I can possibly write in that world, and everything else is secondary. I'm doing a couple of issues of a series called Jin Rise. I don't know if you've heard of this over at IDW, which is a genies versus aliens series.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jin Rise. Okay.
Rise.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it's cool. It's by a guy Sohei Barwan, who does a radio show called Fictional Frontiers. Has put this comic together, which is essentially catering for the Middle East. It's a comic that's supposed to, it was the face of the Middle East Comic Con last year. This comic, and
wow,
now it's finally out in the States, and it's starting to blossom. And I've he's just done it was just in Rolling Stone, and it's taking off, and he's asked me to contribute to a couple of those things, and I've said yes because I'm a bit of a sucker for that stuff.
Fantastic. What kind of radio show does he have? Is he a DJ? Is he a talk show host?
Yes, he's one of those. He does like a pop culture thing. He often has people like Chris Ryle, and he has a bunch of comic book creators on there all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it Australian radio? Is it Middle Eastern radio?
No, it's American. He's in Philadelphia, I think.
Oh, you know something? I may have heard of this guy. Okay.
Yeah. Cross paths at some stage.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I've ever met him face to face, but now I am aware of that show, and I've heard of it and stuff. And yeah, I knew that. Now that you say Chris has been on the show, that even clicked more.
So he's, cool. And Jin Rise is just, it's a great idea.
That's really cool. No, it sounds great. Is it like taking place in like Arabian Night times, or is it a modern day thing?
No, it's happening now. It's a modern day thing, and it's a really interesting idea. It's it's basically a bunch of aliens come to conquer the world, and instead of American superheroes jumping out to save the day and protect the world, a little boy with a bottle and these jinn or genies are coming out and defending them, and it makes for some sort of epic action. If you can picture giant genies ripping apart alien warships in the middle of, over a Middle Eastern sky. It's some fun stuff, and I think too, like it's just going to get better as well. It's it's finding its feet, and it's really it's gonna turn into something fun, I think.
That's really cool. That's a really fun idea. I'm going to have to look that up, man. Jin Rise. Okay, very cool. And I'm assuming Jinn.
Jinn.
Or DJINN. I don't know.
With the J.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
They might be the last, fantasy-powered group that hasn't been tapped by comics in this fashion that I can think of.
I mean, it's not werewolves. It's not vampires. It's genies. Why didn't anyone think of this earlier? He's a genius. Yeah.
No, that's really smart. It really is. That's really cool, man. Yeah. Very cool. Well, that sounds like fun. Fantastic, man.
Yeah.
You're doing good. That's excellent, Tom. I'm really happy, man. Like I said, I like the Star Wars stuff I've read of yours, and I'm glad you introduced me to the Deep now, and certainly people should check out the first 2 volumes that are coming out in April. Yeah. The Injustice stuff is just fantastic, and I was so thrilled that it's doing as well as it is, and also that it's as great of a story as it is. If you're not reading Injustice, you're missing a fantastic Justice League story that will make you happy, and it's fast moving. Which I again, when you're only doing 10 pages a week, it's got to be fast moving. But from a paper comic standpoint, no, I think you get a lot of action and a lot of story each time the book comes out.
Yes, I'd agree. It's basically it's 10 pages, but I'm trying to fit about 20 pages into each 10 pages.
It feels that way. Well, and I really like Batman Beyond. I think Unlimited has been really good. Americomics, is it Americomics with Jimmy and Justin have been doing?
I've never even tried to pronounce it. Amy Comics? I don't know.
Yeah, Amy Comics maybe. Yeah, and God only knows how Jimmy says it with his Brooklyn accent. So But no, it's like I said. I think the DC digital comics are really, really good, and certainly Injustice is a great example. And thrilled to hear that. Like I said, I assumed it was going to be a limited series. Glad to hear that it's has no end date in sight. So very, very cool.
Well, it's going to be a limited series. We just don't know how limited at this stage. You know.
Well, I hope you get at least 2 trades out of it when all is said and done, man.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Excellent.
And look, I mean, the editors are behind it 100%. Jim Chadwick and Sarah Gaydos. Both of them have been, they're just giving me the freedom to do whatever I want. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it.
That's excellent.
Yeah. It's amazing to have this sort of freedom on these characters.
That's cool. And I'm glad you mentioned Jim. I always enjoy seeing him at conventions.
I love Jim.
Got to know him when he was editing Art and Franco on a couple books.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, look, I love everybody at Burbank. They've because I actually started straight after Star Wars Invasion. I ended up on the Authority, which a lot of people don't know because it was towards the end of Wildstorm.
There you go.
Yeah, so I wrote the last sort of 8 issues of Authority at a very strange time. But Jim was my editor then, and we had a blast on that book.
Who was your artist on those last Authorities?
Mike S. Miller and then El Barrionuevo, and I have no idea if I've said that right or not. But there was some good stuff in there. It was a weird time because nobody really knew what was coming. Nobody, creators. I think a lot of people did. We didn't know the Wildstorm was coming to an end. And so it was an odd time to be writing, but just getting to write the Authority was a huge buzz.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's fantastic, man. No, all right. Well, for people who do know you, you know him, and I'm glad that things are going well. For people who haven't read enough Tom Taylor, there's a good assortment there that we've discussed that they should check out.
Yes.
And glad to hear that more is to come, and looking forward to the potential television debut of The Deep. That would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing this, and let's do it again.
Thank you very, very much for having me. Thanks for staying up and calling me at a reasonable time in Australia, and I'm going to go and put pants on now.
Well, thank you, Tom. By all means, put pants on.
Thank you, John. I will. Just for you.